This might be a long video, so you can press the 2 times speed if you want to hurry it up. Let's talk about why you see the 3 charts in AstroSeek. There's some other softwares that do this too, and here is my experienced opinion. If you don't know who I am, I'm Laurie Rivers. I've been a practicing professional astrologer since 1998, and this is my 30th year as an astrologer. So, from about the 1960s through the early 2000s, astrologers decided to make astrology legit, and put us adjacent to psychology. Not understanding how predictive astrology works, they saw predictive astrology more like fortune telling. Trust me, I'm going to get to your Saturn return in a second. But you need the background information, okay? The thing about predictive astrology is there isn't a lot of good information about it, and it's passed down mentor to mentor. There's a few books like Bernadette Brady's that can get you kind of started on the idea, but here's the deal. Astrologers still had to do charts by hand, and in America especially, they overemphasized the ability to do mathematical calculations, which is why there's so much emphasis on calculation points in certain sectors of astrology, and they didn't focus on interpreting the results. That's why you have very narrow, rigid explanations when you look up, in a what we call cookbook astrology, when you look up the meanings of the planets, and things can be a little more negative. They were always looking for trauma. They were never looking for the healing route. It took into the late 90s to get that ball rolling with evolutionary astrology. So, because of that mindset of over focus on the mechanics versus the interpretation, we have a lot of people who are dedicated to the math and the math only with no nuance, and they will make 3 return charts. However, in the traditional practices of predictive astrology and mundane astrology, which the way I was taught astrology was, you're not going to be a good personal astrologer, psychological astrologer, if you don't understand mundane events, because life doesn't happen just in the interior lens. You have to deal with the world. In traditional astrology, it's one chart. It's the final pass. That's the final return. The others are returns, but they're not a return, if that makes sense. They're part of the process. So like when I had my Saturn return, my first one in 1999, I had the go over it, retrograde back over it, and then the final one. The over and back is part of the process. The return itself is the final pass. And that chart is a predictive chart and gives you the overarching theme of the next 28 years, focusing on Saturn in the chart. You don't read return charts the same way you read a natal chart. So like reading a return chart isn't read the same way you read a natal chart, and it's a little more advanced astrology, mostly because you really have to have a deep understanding of the different ways the planetary energy can express and how it expresses through you. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Like even if they had a similar Saturn return chart, you're going to have a different experience because consciousness expresses in a spectrum. So use the last chart and look at the house Saturn is in, and that'll kind of give you a feel for the things you're looking at over the next 28 years. And don't freak out if it's in the 8th house. It doesn't mean you're just dealing with death. What it means is you're dealing with changing times. You're looking at how your support comes in. It means you probably want to set up your retirement or different income streams that you don't have to toil for as hard. So learning about compound interest would be something like that. I hope that helped. It's a more complicated subject than TikTok gives us room for, really.